Hi, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Visweswaraiah, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Aid College, Kunigil, which is affiliated to Tumkur University, Karnataka. Dear viewers and my dear students, so this video is about chapter 6 of the voyage to Lilliput of Gulliver Travels Part 1. See, dear viewers, in my previous videos I was completely started to narrate what is happening, or explaining the novel from chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is about the 6th chapter, the summary and its analysis. So far, just I would like to give some information about what happened in the previous chapter. So to get connection to this particular session, or to particular this chapter 6 summary and analysis, we see that chapter 5 is about how Gulliver helped Lilliputians against the war of Blefuscu. There, he was very much successful helping Lilliputs, and he pulls out all the ships from the port, and even when the Emperor of Lilliput orders him to just go and attack again on Blefuscu, somewhere Gulliver felt it is dissuades him not to go there and do that. So this act of his concern, showing concern on Blefuscu, Blefuscu delegates Gulliver to Blefuscu, and even the emperor agrees to visit Blefuscu. So enthusiastically, Gulliver agrees to go and just see in and around of Blefuscu. And what happens in this chapter, we'll see that chapter 6 is again going to give you the description about how Gulliver is very curious about to see Lilliputians' culture, tradition, and the customs and the lifestyles of Lilliputs. Okay, so dear viewers, let me show you some slides on the screen, and you will be able to understand better looking at the slides. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, this is about my topic is dealt with this. Okay, chapter 6 summary, and we'll see that in the next it will start with. Okay, chapter 6 summary begins like this. Gulliver describes the general customs and practices of Lilliput. In this chapter, he describes the general customs, how they live, and the practices of Lilliputs. It is no more detail, but beginning by explaining that everything in Lilliput, like their animals, the trees, and the plants are given here importance. Look at that, they are seized in proportion to the Lilliputians. So if you can just think about that, how can it possible? Animals, yeah, the size is only a proportion to the Lilliputians only. The tree also, the plants also, they are seized in proportion to the Lilliputians. This is how, he says. We'll see. Yeah. He notices how, eyesight of Lilliputians. And this is the just title I gave you. I gave for this slide. Eyesight of Lilliputians. He notices how everything in their city is proportional to themselves, including the plants, animals, and trees. Okay, their eyesight is also adapted to their scale only, because the eyesight of them is also adjusted to the scale of them. This is how this is very important. He looks like that. Gulliver cannot see as clearly close up as they can, because that Gulliver can't see as close as they see. But in the same way, Lilliputians cannot see as far as Gulliver can. This is how the eyesight adjusted to the size of Lilliputians. Okay, that is how it is. These are the observations and very minute details are explained here. Gulliver is clearly speaks about this all. Okay, so then now Lilliputians writing. Okay, again we'll look at that. Lilliputians are well educated, but their writing system is odd to Gulliver. This is very interesting here. Look at that, students and viewers. Their writing system is odd now to Gulliver, because how does it look like? They write not from left to right like the Europeans do, or top to bottom like Chinese do, but from one corner to another corner, page to other, like ladies in England. So then how do they write? How do Lilliputians write? That is very interesting. Okay. But look at that, how they from one corner to another corner, they like ladies in England, they do it like that. Yeah, see, some of the rituals of Lilliputs are explained in this chapter. Okay, as Gulliver, he travels, in Blefuscu and even in, Lilliputian's kingdom. He meets and he just, sees around what is happening, the rituals of them. Look at that, dead or buried, with their heads pointingly directly to downward. This is again interesting for us. Look at the dead buried, but here their heads pointing directly to the downward. Why? Because the Lilliputians believe that eventually the dead will rise again, and that the earth, which they think is flat, will turn upside down. That is their belief. Look at that. Lilliputians believe that the dead will rise again after that the earth is there, which they think is flat, is there. So will turn upside down. So that is why they just bury the body, dead body, pointingly directly to downwards. Gulliver adds that the better educated Lilliputians no longer believe in this custom. Okay, there is also a kind of controversy accepting some of the traditions like this. Okay, he says that look at that, better educated Lilliputians no longer believe kind of like this kind of customs. That is how. Okay, the other laws of Lilliputs. Look at that. What are the laws and how others they follow the rules and the regulations of they set it they set with such kind of things. Okay, Gulliver describes some of other laws of Lilliput. Those are as a tradition by which anyone who falsely accuses someone else of crime against the state is put to death. Students, it's very important. Look at that. He describes that other laws of Lilliput, like how those are as a tradition by which anyone who falsely accusing someone without no reason, else a crime is against the state is put to death. Look at that. They put to death. This is the kind of one rule, law. And dishonesty is considered worse than theft. That is very important. It is here said that for example dishonesty is considered worse than theft. Look at that. Because honest people are more vulnerable to liars than to thieves. Since commerce requires people to trust one another, that is their intention, that is their motto of this rule, I think. Okay, see, that is how the other laws of Lilliputs are importantly brought out in this chapter 6. Okay, look at that in the next one. Care about children. Let us see, let us look at that, how the care about children brought out in this chapter. Okay, or it is also important that Gulliver travels there, how these things are very important. The law provides not only for punishment but also for rewards of special titles and privileges for good behavior. This is very important. For good behavior, there will be a reward. Okay. What are the rewards and what is for what they specifically give titles and privileges? We'll see. Children are raised not by individual parents but by the kingdom as a whole. Look at that. Children are raised not only by individual parents but by kingdom as a whole. See, once a child is born, it is the kingdom's set. Look at that, kingdom as a whole, raised baby. That is a good concept. They are sent to live in schools at a very young age. They are sent to live in a school itself in a young age, and the government is, government is looked after them like this. Okay. These are the things happens here about the children. And let us look at the children education, how it will be in that Okay, Gulliver explains in detail. Look at that, how in detail he explains in chapter 6. The schools are chosen according to the station their parents, whom they see only twice a year. Look at that. In the previous slide, it is told that when a child is born, at the young age itself, they are sent to the schools. Only they live there itself. But the schools are chosen according to the parents' station. Means it is the locations of parents, whom they see only twice a year. Only the parents are allowed to see their children only twice a year. Only the laborers' children stay home, since their job is to farm. Okay, because their job is to farm. Farming is their job, so that they are allowed to stay home. Laborers' children. There are no beggars at all. This is a very important point here. There are no beggars at all, since the poor are well looked after by the state or by the kingdom. So no beggars found. Okay, so that is how. Then, so like this, the chapter 6 ends with this kind of description of the rituals and all the customs and lifestyles of Lilliput. Let us go to some analysis of this chapter. Jonathan Swift satirizes European practices by implicitly comparing them to outrageous Lilliputian customs. Gulliver describes a number of unusual Lilliputian customs that he presents as reasonable and sensible. Okay, it's very much sensible. Okay, so that this chapter, which describes improvements that could be made in European society. See, indirectly, as I told you, that it's a satire to just speak about the European society. So, is less satirical and ironic than the previous chapter. It is not so much, ironic in this chapter. Okay. So, like this, here, sorry. Yeah. So, right. We may infer that Swift approves of many of these situations here, or some of the institutions here. Clearly, there is a good case to be made for treating fraud as a more serious crime than theft. So that is, brought out here. And for making false testimony as a capital crime. False, these are the, fraud, treating. See, look at that, how very fabric of society depends upon trust. That is how the trust is, very important in this society. So dishonesty may be even more damaging than the theft and violence. See, this is how Swift is brought out all these elements in the voyage to Lilliput. Beautifully brought out. Okay, this is the reference I used for it. And now, okay, let us see that how this chapter gives you information about the rituals and customs and traditions of Lilliputs. And also it is neatly brought out that how the laws and even the children are taken care of, and even no beggars, how poor taken care of. And look at that, how the dishonesty is more than it's a big offense than the theft, and even how that how they bury the dead people, and that another world, they think like that. See, these are the things. It is very important in this chapter, how the Jonathan Swift brought out all these aspects of the life of Lilliputians in this chapter. Okay, so Gulliver explains them in very minutely and even in detail about all these things. Okay, so in this way, chapter 6 ends, and in chapter 7 and 8 we'll see what happens to Gulliver. And Gulliver is just now he wanted to visit Blefuscu, and what happens there, and we'll see in the next chapter and even in the next videos. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope that at least it is an attempt to read or just get the summary of the voyage to Lilliput. Okay, thank you so much for viewing this video, and kindly subscribe and watch. Thank you.